This is episode 210, and on today's show, the topic of discussion will be still standing, be grateful. Still standing, be grateful. Have you ever had a situation where you thought that you would not have made it? Have you ever wondered, how did you make it? You know, looking back, and we know hindsight is 2020. We've heard that so many times. And you ask the question, or someone may ask you, how did you do that? How did you make it through your situation? Well, on today's show, we're going to talk about that. And I want you to stay tuned for more of what it is my thoughts are on this very thing. With that in mind, my friend, let me just say to you again, this is Kingsley Grant, your host, your coach, and your Sherpa. So Kingsley, what is a Sherpa? Remind me of that. Well, a Sherpa, my friend, is simply someone who knows a little bit more than someone else and know the terrain of the place that that person may want to go. And having gone there himself or herself, is able to show that person how to avoid the pitfalls and the landmines and all the other things that would bring harm to that individual. So the Sherpa is that person who serves in that capacity. And that's who I am to you. That's my hope, that I can serve in that capacity. I want to quickly update you on where we are in the show. As I mentioned before in the last episode, if you have not listened to episode 208 and 209, can I encourage you to go back and listen to those two episodes? Because I outlined what it is I'm doing here at the Midlife Launch. What are the changes that are being made? And I mentioned in the last episode about the fact that the name change is coming very soon. And the show will be changed to Smooth Career Change. Yeah, Smooth Career Change. And Smooth is really an acronym that you'll hear more about in the very near future, because I have really researched and thought through and prayed through and reflected upon and written and journaled and meditated. Basically, I really have on what do I do with this show, as I mentioned in previous episodes. At one point, I really was thinking about shutting down the Midlife Launch and just let it sit there and not collect dust, but because of the evergreen material, I thought about, hey, maybe I should do that. And I went through all of the ups and downs in my mind. And you may understand this because you may have yourself gone through situations like this. Or maybe you are going through a situation where you are in that pivotal time, that transitional time, and you really don't know what it is you want to do. Recently, I think I may have mentioned, but if you didn't listen to one of my previous episodes, I was in San Jose, California at the Brendan Burchard's Expert Academy with about 800 of us were there. It was a packed house, and of course, Brendan, he brought his A game. Man, he really brought his A game. I really appreciate the fact of how he really was able to hold us as the audience for basically 8-hour days, 3 days. I mean, we started on Thursday morning early. We started at 9. We ended at 7 p.m. or 7:15. And that was Thursday and Friday and Saturday. Man, it was really crazy, right? But this guy he has a way of really keeping us. And if you've ever been to one of those events, you know what I'm talking about. If you've never been, let me encourage you to one of these days go and attend one of Brendan Burchard's events, because I really thoroughly enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, I've told many people that this is one of the events of many events I've been to, it's one of those that stand out in my mind as in the top of the list of events. I got a lot of stuff. He really deliver. It's not just kind of fluff and noise and rah rah emotional thing, even though there's a place for that. No, it was a substantive event. There are things we took away. And one of my main thing was framework and how to create a framework for everything we do. So going back to then Smooth Career Change, the podcast and the name, the framework I established around the word smooth came out of that. And really, I just kind of wrestled with the idea. And I mentioned before in previous podcasts, I won't take the time to go back again and talk about how that came about. You can listen to that if you want to go back to episode 208 and 209. I kind of outlined what I did there. And I have the links in the show notes. So if you need to find that, you can click on that and go right back to those episodes and listen in on how I came up with this framework. But recently, over the weekend, I'm recording this episode on the week of Thanksgiving here in the United States of America. And the weekend prior to that, I had a chance to speak at a Job Corps event where a friend of mine, he invited me to be one of the guest speakers. There were about 115, 120 young men between 19 and 24 years old who were at this event. So the idea was to rotate them through 3 different speakers. So every moment, we had about 40 or so young adults who were in each session, and they would rotate and hear all 3 of us present on this material. I chose to speak about, because my task was career and life balance, or career and life skills. And so it was so fitting that I was given that topic. And what happened was I was going through this whole smooth career change, and especially the word smooth and the framework around smooth, and how can a person smoothly transition in any state of life they find themselves in. And I really was going back and finding the words and playing the words, and I have a pretty good way of coming up with acronyms, and I began to think about this. So the S in the word smooth, I'm not gonna bore you with all of this, which I don't think is a bore. As a matter of fact, I'm developing an ebook right now. I'm writing an ebook. I'm developing a coaching group around this framework. I'm going to have a product from this framework. But you hear more about that in the very near future, because I'm excited about what this will bring to you and helping you how to shape where you are and get the best out of life. Let me just suffice it to say this. The S is the story. So what is a story? And I explore and dig and go deeper into the story that's driving the change idea. So what it is about you and that you might want to change. What is the story that has led up to where you are? And that's what I spoke about to these young men. I told them my story. And then at the end, the H of this smooth is, I call it hole in one. And it's a term that is borrowed from the golf space, right? I'm not a golfer, but I know the term. I've heard it so many times and see it. And what happened was, I see it as a way to experience a small win. How can you get a hole in one very quickly? Because that's the whole point, right? Once you get the hole in one, you've won that. I would say that game. I'm not sure how the golf is all divided. So forgive me if I sound like a novice and an amateur here. Well, I am, because I'm not a golfer. Okay. So you talk about soccer now, then you've got me to talk about soccer. Now I know soccer. I've played it. So I know that very well. But what happened is, the hole in one idea was, I was helping these young men see that, you've got to have a small win. If you're going to gain momentum and change the whole idea of your life, where your life is, you've got to be able to find a small win in the area that you're pursuing. And I'll share more about that as I mentioned earlier. But I just want to tell you about what's been going on and how all this ties into still standing, be grateful. Because what happened is, part of my story that I shared with these young men was that I went through very some very hard times, physically and otherwise. And I shared about my mom's death and what that meant to me in 2011. I shared about my heart attack and my open heart surgery in 2008, December 2008. So it's almost 8 years now that I've gone through that ordeal. I shared about how I left my job of 21 years. 21 years, imagine that. And started my own business. And then 6 months later, I had to go undergo heart surgery. I shared about those stories and other stories as well. I realized that I spoke about 40 minutes or thereabouts. And I said, man, this is it came out so good. I felt the feedback I received from these young men about how it touched their lives. They were inspired. My stories, they could resonate with that and it helped them. And man, I'm telling you, I had them in a sense. And hope you don't hear me wrong. I'm not boasting about my speaking ability. I'm a good speaker. I don't back down from that. I know I've heard it so many times. As a matter of fact, I have almost like 20 trophies here sitting right behind me as I do my recording. And I just want to say that I know I'm a pretty good speaker. I can really hold an audience pretty well. By the way, if you need a speaker and want to test out, well, check me out. Just go to my page at kingsleygrant.com and check on my speaking page and see if there's something there that could possibly entice you or possibly convince you. I don't know. Let's see how that works. But what happened is, my whole point was in sharing these stories with them is to realize that I'm still standing today. I'm still standing after all that I've gone through. And as a matter of fact, with this podcast, and I felt like things were not happening. Felt like, what's the use? What's the purpose? I could almost have a pity party and invite guests and they probably would not come, right? But I could have done all of those things. I could have thrown in the towel. So many times in different areas, I could have thrown in the towel. But here's what happened. I love when I read the Bible, there is a phrase in the Bible that is so pivotal for my life. And I want to just briefly mention this phrase. It's but God. But God. So, and those God moments, God really stepped into my life in so many ways. And maybe he has stepped into yours. And I'm not sure if you are a person of faith. But if you're not, don't turn this off because it's important. You may have had something else or someone else who served that purpose for you. But God did for me. He saved my life, and he's also given me an opportunity to be here. So I am grateful for life. I am grateful that I'm still standing. And even some people may have counted me out, and some people may have counted you out. Not believe that you could stand after all that you have gone through. Or they may have discounted and just kind of say, hey, you know what? You are not going to make it. But you've proven them wrong. You're still standing today. What have you gone through? What are you going through? If you're going through something right now, can I just say to you, hang in there. Hang in there. Don't give up. Let me share with you 3 D's that really are helpful, or have been helpful to me, and I hope it's helpful to you. And I'm going to go back to the idea of gratitude in a few moments. And, I know this is in the United States where I am. We celebrate Thanksgiving every November. The fourth Thursday of every November, we celebrate Thanksgiving. So on November 24th this year, 2016. What am I talking about? I'm thinking about my surgery. 2016, we're going to celebrate Thanksgiving. But for me, Thanksgiving is every single day. I am grateful. I give thanks every single day because I realize that, when I open my eyes, when I can hear, when I can smell, when I can taste, when I can feel, when I can breathe, I am alive, right? So I'm very thankful for that. But here are the 3 Ds I believe that are so helpful and will help you if you are finding yourself in one of those situations where it may be a setback. And you've heard many times your setback is a setup for your comeback, right? So here's the 3 Ds. Number 1, determination. You've got to be determined that this thing you have in your heart is going to come out. You got to be determined that you're going to push through even when I look back, and this is one of those words that really I find is so true in my life, was determination. I was determined, and I'm still determined, that what it is in my heart, I want to get out to the whole world. I want to get out in the world, and in so many different ways, to my writing, my speaking, my coaching. And I will be creating a coaching product from this very same framework of Smooth. And if you're interested in that, I've created a Facebook group that I want to encourage you and invite you to be a part of. The links will be in the show notes, but it's facebook.com/group/smooth changes. Okay? Smooth changes. Now, I think it had been set up as facebook.com/groups smooth career change. And I think I'm still going to tether between those two. So if you go there and search for one of those, you'll find it. Okay. But I have the links in the show notes, and you can go there at themidlifelaunch.com/210. Okay. themidlifelaunch.com/210, and you'll find the links there. But the first word is determination. The second one is discipline. Now, this is one of those which I struggle with sometimes. To be disciplined in my own personal life, be disciplined in my work life. I feel I could have accomplished so much more if I had a better discipline track, or history. But I am a whole lot better today than I was yesterday. That's a good part, right? We're making progress. It's not about where I was, it's where I am today. And it's progress, not perfection. So I am growing and I'm becoming better. That's my confession. And I hope you understand that I'm not there yet, not perfect. I love, again, one of the Bible verses where Paul says, I don't pretend like I've reached where I want to reach. But one thing I do, he said, every day, I push forward. I press forward towards the mark. And he had his goal in his mind that kept him going. So for me, it was a discipline. And the third thing was destiny. Destiny. What's my destiny? My destiny is to make an impact on the world. My destiny is to bring hope to so many people around the world. And these are the three things that kept me going, the 3 Ds that really drives me and helps me in my journey. So my friend, after all of that, I'm saying here, I'm still standing, but I'm so grateful for all that I've gone through and where I am today. Because gratitude is, as you've heard many times, and if you've not heard, you're going to hear it today. Gratitude, or the attitude of gratitude, creates your altitude, right? The attitude of gratitude creates your altitude, meaning how far you'll get, how high you'll get in life. That is what the attitude of gratitude does. And it doesn't take much to be grateful, really. It doesn't take much. How hard is it to say thank you? Thank you to the people who have helped you and are helping you in your life. Thank you to your family, your friends. For me, not only that, but in addition to that, for me, it's first and foremost, thank you to God. And I do that on a daily basis because I know I can't live without God. I know I can't live without relationships. And I strive to make sure I have good relationships around me. So my question to you, my friend, is this. What are you grateful for today? What are you grateful for in this stage of your life? You say, well, I don't have much to be grateful for. Really? 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 I'm sure you do. Because, in every adversity, right, there is an opportunity. I think it's not Napoleon Hill, I think it's who said that. Whether it's him or not, the point is it's still being made, right? In every adversity, there is equal or more of an opportunity. So my question is, how are you going to find and make gratitude a part of your life today? Sometimes you say, I don't feel like it. Don't go by your feeling, my friend. Feeling is not going to make it happen. You have to decide. You have to Just do it. Because sometimes it's after you start doing it that you begin to feel it. I see feelings as secondary to actions. So take an action step and be grateful today. Find someone to be grateful for, something to be grateful for. If you can breathe, you have enough to be grateful for. If you can see and hear, and I don't know your condition, but think about it. What can you do today that somebody else might not be able to do? That is enough reason to be grateful. So my friend, as we talk about this, I hope now that you're hearing more about the smooth career change. That's going to be coming up very soon. I'm in the process of getting some new music and graphics, graphics and a new music for this, and there's a few other things I want to get done. So you'll hear that, and I want to make sure, hopefully by next episode, it'll be in place. If not, it'll be the episode after. But I'm hoping that 2000, in episode 211, we'll be able to say, welcome to Smooth Career Change. I am your host, your coach, and your Sherpa, Kingsley Grant. I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are too. Hey, I would love to know if this show was helpful to you today. I would love to know if this episode was one that really resonated with you. Tweet me at Kingsley Grant. So on Twitter, at Kingsley, KINGSLEY GRANT. Just tweet me there and let me know, and just put the hashtag TML210. Hashtag TML210. And I would love to hear from you there as well. But also make sure that you join the Facebook group, right? Request to join, because I want to build a community there of people who I'll share the framework with and walk you through some webinars and other ways of helping you to know how this smooth acronym is applicable to you in your personal life. So with that said, my friend, again, all the links I mentioned, you'll be able to find in the show notes at themidlifelaunch.com/210. You'll find them there. And I hope to hear from you through Twitter or through Facebook. And hey, don't forget, this is very important. One of those ways you can to show me and tell me you're very grateful for this show is to subscribe, but also to go to iTunes. And there, I have on the page a way to do that very easy. Just go to iTunes. Go to themidlifelaunch.com/iTunes. How much more easier could that be? themidlifelaunch.com/iTunes, and leave me an honest rating and a review. That I would really appreciate, and that's the way you could tell me thanks. With that said, my friend, peace out, God bless, and I'll see you on the flip side. Yeah.